A Long Island grandmother has outsmarted some would-be thieves.
Chamblee police officers responded to a call from a local dental office in Atlanta, Georgia.
They were notified en route that an elderly white female was attempting to withdraw $15,000 using a fake ID.
If he goes west on Bridge Road, and we'll just light him up.
When scams go wrong, the results can be both thrilling and hilarious.
Chase bank teller in Florida recognized a customer from an email sent out from another branch to be on the lookout for her as a fraudster.
A grandmother turns the tables on a con artist posing as her grandson's lawyer, while a wannabe thief's coat factory scheme unravels faster than you can say, suspended transaction.
On March 17, 2022, an officer from the University of Wisconsin Whitewater Police Department stopped a vehicle for speeding.
Elsewhere, a scammer's fake ID attempt crashes at airport security, and a cunning crook posing as a store employee gets caught trying to snag consoles.
On September 26, 2023, officers responded to a pawn shop to investigate a potential fraud.
Whether it's an elaborate phone hoax or a cop impersonator busted in broad daylight, these stories show how spectacularly scamming people can backfire. Number 1. Trick the tricksters. Now, this lady was probably considered an easy target by a scammer who decided to prey upon her. He presented himself as her grandson's lawyer, and this was enough for the woman to make a decision that would lead this guy to jail. She baited the scammer by planting the idea in his head. She played along with this guy's story, asking for $8,000 to cover the bail for her grandson.
I told him I had the money in the house, and I figured he's not going to fall for that. Well, he fell for that hook, line, and sinker.
Finalizing her trap, the lady told him she only had cash, baiting him to come to her home, where the man was apprehended by cops who were a part of the plan she set forth. Number 2. Watch what you wear. Cops responded to a claim from a coat factory that their employee was somehow stealing from them. They narrowed the search to a single person, whom the cops decided to interview to find out what was happening. Before doing so, they talked to the manager and ensured the evidence made sense. Since everything seemed clear, they headed out to talk to the one leading this scheme. But instead of a hardcore person, they find a woman begging them not to arrest her and asking if she can return the $3,100 that she has taken.
You got $3,100?
I can pay payments. I can do something.
That's not on my hands. That's on them. But they want right now. They're prosecuting.
Excuse me. I can't go to jail.
This employee worked as a cashier, and it gave her the opportunity to work while her shift lasted. She used the breaks to take out clothing items, which she would ring up to simulate a purchase. But then, right before the payment was processed, she would suspend the transaction, tricking the system and making it look as if it was paid. She used this trick and tried to recruit other colleagues to do it with her. There were about 13 items that cops immediately recognized as some of those she used to make this fraud work. However, as she has done this for a while, the investigation remained open. The woman earned herself 9 months on probation for grand theft. However, she stole again during this period, making things worse for herself. Number 3. Scammer with a bad memory. When scammers become known for what they're doing, their career is essentially over. This one was already reported to the cops, so when her name, or at least one of them, appeared on the radar, she was immediately caught in the cop's trap. Before he even approached the woman, the cop was aware of everything happening, so he gave her time and then surprised her with a quick,
I'm sorry?
What's your name? Christine what?
Tyler?
Christine Tyler? Okay.
Siler.
Do you have Siler? Do you have ID with you?
She does.
Yep, from the teller line. Okay, cool. Thank you.
That was enough for this scammer to slip up and tell the wrong one. Well, she said a wrong fake name, one that she failed to remember. Even though she seems surprised once she hears there is a warrant for her arrest, we may rest assured that she is already aware of what will follow. This, however, didn't make her cautious enough not to fall into the trap that the officer prepared for her. Namely, after striking up what seemed like a casual conversation, he asked about her name again, and she was caught on tape saying a different one once again. As for her fake date of birth, she has forgotten it as well. Realizing she's busted, the woman decides to go the easy way and explains that she has struck up a deal with someone to use the fake ID to get some money they would later split. This case was one of those that encouraged a wider investigation, which landed the woman charges for an organized scheme. Number 4, nice try, old-timer. Here is a man with a plan. Even though he wanted to fake one, the only actual slip-up he made was that he did not realize a security camera was recording the whole deal. He calmly uses the ice machine and prepares the setting for his invented fall. He throws some on the ground and then lies beside it, acting as if he slipped on it and fell, wanting to do an insurance scam. Naturally, the man was arrested and wouldn't see any money he planned to snatch unfairly. Number 5. You picked a very wrong target. Scammers have spread their work so widely that they nowadays are not even picking their targets. Well, with this one, they have made a big mistake, considering they happened to reach the police captain on her phone, and she is more than prepared to take them on. In the beginning, she plays along and gives them some of her details, luring them further and making sure she has them busted for what they are doing. While doing so, she even keeps a smile on her face. Once you hear what the actual scam is about, things get even funnier, considering that the guy on the other side of this call claimed that there are serious allegations against the woman and that she needs to provide full cooperation and, of course, details if she wants to get out of this situation.
Serious allegations under your name. So if you think you're trying to play smart over this recorded call, you can please hang up the line.
To back this empty story up, the guy uses a few strongly sounding institution names, including the Department of Treasury or the Department of Narcotics, and feeling that he got the woman hypnotized already, he demands her to listen closely and not speak until he is finished. After letting them proceed and playing along, the captain decided it was enough. After all, according to the scammers, she will be arrested in the future for drug trafficking. Good luck with that. Number 6. Impersonating a cop while drunk. This cop was called in for a very specific reason. A person was acting as if she was a cop and she went around harassing people. Once she has gone so far as to act as if she's investigating people, naturally, the real cops get in and decide to discover what this may be about. As soon as the cop walks up to this woman, she accuses the guy who called the cops on her, saying that he is the one doing the harassing. When asked to describe what the man was doing, she was lost for words. Taking her ID, the cop realized she was not from around there, which she tried to solve by calling someone who said they lived at the address where she parked. Once that was out of the way, the cop waited to let the woman know he could smell alcohol on her breath, even though she claimed she had none, and warned the woman that she was detained, considering he had already seen her driving the vehicle that day. Since she refused to calm down, the cop was forced to put cuffs on her and put her in the back of his car. Keeping at it, the woman still doesn't make this easy and keeps screaming and kicking around the whole time they travel.
Saving my life. Saving my life.
She also cried and said that the cop had kidnapped her, even though he clearly explained her situation to her. The woman was finally charged with impersonating an officer, resisting without violence, and driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Number 7. Tried to use stolen credit cards. When your car is associated with multiple vehicle thefts, burglaries, and other crimes, you will feel some heat once the cops locate you. In this case, the black BMW was driven by 3 teens who didn't understand the consequences of their actions and behaviors. The car was noticed since it was driven very recklessly, and without the culprits knowing, they were walking into a trap. They were followed and recorded from the air.
If he goes west on Bridge Road, and we'll just light him up. If he takes off, let him take off, and the air will take over.
Making a right-hand turn southbound on Commerce.
At some point, the car stopped at a Walmart, where 2 teens tried to use multiple credit cards, raising suspicion that these were stolen. When they tried to leave, this was a cue for the cops to go in. They immediately blocked the suspect's vehicle with their truck, rendering them unable to escape. So, two of the teens inside decided to give it a shot and try running. Luckily, they were caught before dogs and tasers needed to be utilized in the chase. At first, the teens refused to tell their names, but realizing they were already in quite a predicament, they decided to give up, especially considering their vehicle was full of stolen items, among which were some credit cards they used to try and commit fraud. These three later faced charges for burglary, stealing credit cards, fraudulent use of credit cards, and personal identification. Number 8. You tried what? Now, scammers, we know that you may be trying to hide in plain sight, but when you attempt to pass a TSA checkpoint with a fake ID, you are simply asking to fall into the trap and be uncovered. Well, the fellow you see here hanging out in handcuffs is the one to attempt such a move. The documents you see in the bag that an officer is holding contain all the fake documents found on the suspect. We can easily conclude how seriously such matters are taken simply based on the number of cops present. Some of the cops are laughing, probably at something else, but considering what a dumb trap this fellow has fallen into, it may as well be the situation itself. After some brief consultations, they take the scammer away. Number 9. Tried to cash in a fake check. A potential fraud happened in a pawn shop, and cops were called in since someone tried to cash in a check for nearly $24,000. The only trouble is, the check was most certainly counterfeit. When cops faced the woman, she claimed that she was expecting a check for unemployment. After hearing this, the cop asked in surprise if she believed they would buy such a story, considering the amount of cash the check was for. As if to dig her own grave even deeper, the cops noticed that the car that she came in had left, making the whole thing even more suspicious. As the cops are reading her rights, we can see that the bags under the woman's eyes are getting bigger. If you're wondering what this reaction is, it is one you may expect when you see yourself falling into a trap setup to catch scammers. Well, since this system works, the cop, who's already well experienced with similar cases, literally told the woman what he concluded is going on.
We're asking you questions because we're trying to gauge where you're at as far as what you're going to tell us and how truthful you're going to be. But I'm going to tell you right now, not a darn thing that's come out of your mouth has made any sense.
Which is somebody has given a fake check to this lady to cash in so that they can split the money if she succeeds. Considering she was charged with grand theft, we can conclude she ain't seeing any good from it. Number 10. Some expensive teeth. Now this is a weird one. Cops were called into a dental office considering there was a woman who pretended to be somebody else. She was caught sitting in a dental chair and confused by what was happening. She introduced herself using her real name. However, the name she gave to the officer wasn't the same one she offered to those working at a dental clinic. Want to see the face of someone trying to lie? Have a closer look. After the cop told her that this was not the same name she had given to the people at this institution, her behavior quickly changed as she realized she was caught. After a thorough search, cops brought the woman to their car, where they kept investigating this weird case. Things, however, became somewhat darker once the cops learned that she had purchased someone's entire profile.
I don't know. I just used the profile. I just bought it from somebody.
Imagine what a scary idea it is, simply buying someone's personal information and using it in the world. Still, the woman refused to give up the ones who provided such a service to her. Once the dust settled and the fraud realized she was not getting away with it, she started begging the cops to let her go and that she could just pay in cash for the dental service. Well, lady, those shiny pearls will cost you your freedom. Financial card fraud, identity fraud, and forgery are some of the charges this woman will face. Number 11. Age is but a number. There can hardly be places as protected against scammers as banks are. Well, this one decided to try and pull off a fraud that will leave her with $150,000. From how she tried to escape as soon as she saw the cops entering, we can tell she knew what she was doing. To make her situation worse and the trap she fell into even deeper, the person whose fake ID she wanted to rely on to pull off this scam had visited the same bank a few hours before her attempt. Nervously munching on whatever she has in her mouth, the woman doesn't even try to lie her way out of it. She immediately admits that the documents she provided weren't hers. The rest of her cooperation went as smoothly since immediately when asked, she explained she planned to use the fake ID someone provided her with and made a withdrawal. Now, if some of you have started feeling sympathy for the naive old lady, hold your horses. Before the end of this conversation, this 61-year-old woman explained that this wasn't her first rodeo and that she had pulled off similar feats on various occasions. As cuffs are put on her hands, we can see that she has regrets, but who can tell if these are for what she has done multiple times or that she has been caught. Number 12. Tried to cash in a fake check. A call was made that a fraud was ongoing in a convenience store. The cops immediately found these two people acting suspiciously from the get-go. Ensuring neither could escape, two officers came from both sides and kept them there. Neither of the two people provided ID to the cop. An officer was speaking to the owner, who is so experienced with such attempts that he sat down with a cop to explain how they do it. He briefly said that he usually first checks the phone number, which in this case proved false. But once he Googled, he found the contact of an accounting department of those who allegedly provided the papers. They quickly confirmed that this check was not the right color, had a wrong sequence, and wasn't even in the company's system. Already sure that something was up, cops escorted these two outside, where they investigated what was happening. These scammers proved quite advanced, considering the woman even had prepared emails that she claimed would prove this $2,500 check was okay. The cop accepted this and got to the bottom of who sent these emails. Once he acquired a number and a name, he called them and asked whether the woman was their employee, which of course she wasn't.
So at this point right now, I'm gonna confiscate this check. It's all going to be turned into evidence, and the person who was passing the check is going to be arrested, okay? So you may be in contact with someone in the next couple days.
If you think that's the end of surprises, you're wrong. Once the woman was accused, another one threw a tantrum at one of the officers, who remained calm and didn't allow himself to be provoked by this hysterical behavior. The woman is trying to cover for her accomplices who tried to use the forged check. In the end, they were charged with forgery and, after a thorough search, possession of a controlled substance. Number 13. A cop saw through fake ID. What's there to say about underage people and alcohol? One of the bad things that connects the two is fake IDs, which clearly won't work if you cause enough suspicion and get cops following you around. This officer caught up to the underage group, which he quickly confirmed by asking them if they were 21. However, this didn't stop them from having beer cans out in the open and littering. The big question here was how they managed to get it. Well, this cop wastes not a second, and almost as if he has the guy under hypnosis, shoots a straight question at him. Is this your fake ID? The fella immediately admits to it, seeing as there's no way out.
Is that your fake ID?
It is, yeah.
Okay, I'll take that too.
Yes, sir.
Suppose that didn't convince you that this guy has some sort of Jedi mind tricks? Look how quickly he confirms that the other two people have also had alcohol, even though there were no beer cans on them. All it took was a question and a lack of answers for the truth to be out there. A slap on the wrist, it is for you, 4. Let's hope that's a lesson enough. Number 14. Counting on people's empathy. What started as a polite conversation with the woman who was raising money to support a funeral turned into an investigation that led to an arrest. The scammer lied and said she was collecting money for her niece's funeral, pretending the whole time she was crying and clearing her tears. At first, the female officer tried to approach the emotional situation empathetically and told the woman that she understood it was tough. Still, they couldn't be causing a risk in the middle of the street. If you want to see how the scammer sealed her fate, pay attention. When asked for her name, she provided a fake one. But when things got serious, she tried to lie about it, declaring it was the name of her niece whose funeral she was collecting the money for.
What's her name?
Maria.
Maria? Okay. And when did she pass?
3 days ago.
3 days ago? Okay. So in September, did you have another niece named Maria that passed?
Huh?
You and your 2 sons were on the other side.
This was fishy, so cops decided to investigate it thoroughly. They discovered this wasn't the first niece these scammers were fakely putting to rest. Another officer had approached the same scene a few months back, and the scammers didn't even bother to change the place, the signs, or the story this lie revolved around. We don't think she will keep at it, considering it brought her charges for obstructing a highway, using a fake name, and a scheme to defraud. Number 15. A clever ruse. Now this guy had a clever scam up his sleeve. Still, as you can see, he is surrounded by cops, so we can tell it didn't go well. Being caught wasn't enough for him, and he made things worse for himself by trying to run. See how much nerve this guy has, considering that he keeps smoking in front of the police officers. This attitude, however, does him no good, and they do a thorough search before they move on to interrogating the man and trying to understand what happened here. Cops learned from the manager that this guy was pretending to be a Target employee. Using this lie, he went to multiple stores and tried to convince other employees to give him pricey gaming consoles, supposedly needed at another Target store. Cops have transported him, and as he has reached the end of his rope, we can see that he is scouting for an opportunity to escape. He said that he needed to use the bathroom, so he prepared himself and tried to run past the cop as he was exiting.
Work with us, please, man. We don't want to use force. You're on camera. You're not free to leave. Let's solve this peacefully. Let's get this over with, and we move on.
Since that was unsuccessful, he was put back in his place quickly, but not before he created enough drama for multiple officers to be included. Well, that got him nothing but troubles. Number 16, you set yourself up. The guy was speeding and was noticed by a police officer patrolling nearby. After he was pulled over, the guy inside was quiet and polite, but when asked for a driving license, he made a big mistake. When people have fake IDs, they probably use them to scam people. This one, however, just handed it to the officer. What made things funnier is that this guy even showed the cop that he had 2 IDs on him, leaving no doubt in the officer's mind. Even though he was caught in doing so, the cop showed compassion and understanding for the tough position that a student who is bartending may be going through. He gave the young man a verbal warning for speeding, and naturally, he had to pay a fee for reproducing an ID card. Feeling understood by this police officer, the student explained that he didn't use it. Even though he purchased it, he realized from others' experiences that it was an unnecessary risk, one that he didn't feel like taking. His intention, though, was to use it to purchase alcohol if needed. Well, let's hope this bad idea was stopped in its tracks. Number 17, impersonating a cop. What can the thought process behind pretending to be a police officer be? In this case, it could be just a boyish desire for justice. This case began as a cop was driving around and saw someone had pulled over a speeding vehicle. Imagine his surprise once he discovered it was an 18-year-old dressed as a civilian. Trying to understand what was going on, the cop asked a few questions and was told some quite unconvincing lies. The fake cop tried to explain the lack of equipment, but the cop wasn't buying it. The young man went so far as to get police lights installed in his civilian vehicle to make the scam even more convincing. None of it worked, of course, and the fake cop was placed in the back of a police vehicle. Almost as if he couldn't believe his eyes, the cop called other officers to aid him with this weird case. They put the young man under arrest for impersonating a police officer, and during the interview that took place later, they found out the badge and the bat he had were from his father, who used to be a cop.
Mind if I take a look at your badge? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah.
You got this online?
It was, well, at one point, my father's.
From naive teens with fake IDs to a daring con artist scheming for free dental work, these stories highlight how even the cleverest plots can fall apart in unexpected and amusing ways. Next time you think you've encountered a scam, remember these tales of blunders and busted fraudsters, and know that justice, while sometimes delayed, is often inevitable. We hope you enjoyed the content we prepared for you today. Thank you for watching.